Hey everybody, welcome back. Here we are again, Wednesday. Must be Wednesday because here's we ours
Yeah.
doing our thing, showing up, talking about shower doors, shower door business with the shower door professionals. Hey, I see some people I know out there. If you're someone who hasn't been in the call before, it is possible to get in. There's a link in the Facebook group on the page there. You click on that link, it will direct you into here. Robert Gomez will be watching, see if he thinks he can trust you to come in here and play nice. So be on your best behavior. Anyways, hope you're all doing well. I'm having a great week so far. And yeah, it's always good to see y'all. I really look forward to this every week. So let's get started, shall we? I would hand it off to Christina if she was here and have her give a little report. But actually, she's gone. And I missed the call this week on Tuesday. I couldn't make it, but I know some of these diehard co-op people were in having a call. I wasn't there. Christina wasn't there. That doesn't stop them. I mean, they'll just show up and keep talking about it. So, what do you think, Robert, Shannon? I know you all were probably there. Probably Brad was there. I don't know. You want to give a little report on what's going on with co-op?
Who are you referring
to? It was
We should all jump in at once.
Just all jump in there. Yeah, it's awesome.
Let's all do it. Well, it was website related. So a big topic was how we wanted the website to be homeowner facing as well as business owner facing, and how we would make that home screen easy to navigate for anyone that landed on it, and to explain to them how what the benefit was of a homeowner seeing the people that we have within the industry, or on the other side, if you are a glass owner and you go into that side, you being able to see the other metrics of the business owners that you would be joining, and the other articles that might be facing towards you. Like, what do we want homeowners to know on our side versus a homeowner facing article of what we want them to know, speaking directly to them. So we're talking about how we're building out the website to put it behind privacy gates to make sure that the right members see the right stuff, and that we have everything we need to make it a one-stop shop and a great resource for people across the nation. So that was our main topic.
Yeah, definitely, because you don't want to see how the sausage is made. I mean, if you're a homeowner, if you're a customer, you definitely know how we're doing it back here. It's ugly. It's bloody. There's guts. There's stuff oozing all over the place. But if you're a shower door pro, you already know that. So you got a strong stomach. So thanks for doing that, you guys. Yeah, it's important. It's interesting. The shower door professionals Facebook group was an open group for a long time, and then finally some members got in touch and said, "Hey, I don't know if I want my customers coming into the group and seeing what we're talking about." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that totally makes sense. It hadn't even occurred to me." But so I just kind of put it out there. Hey, what do you guys think? And back then I think it was, I don't know, we probably had 500 members or something. Hey, what do you guys think? Should we make it private? And everybody was like, yeah, we definitely should make it private. So that's how we became a private group. It's it's just for shower door pros. You don't want everybody to know what we're talking about.
So we should mention too that the extended request went out to everybody. So if you had contacted the shower doors professional at all last week, Rob sent out a kind of an extended questionnaire to start vetting new members, and maybe we can put up the link if you didn't receive that, but you should have received it. Did we get any back, Rob? I forgot to ask at the call.
Rob is on mute.
You don't hear him anyway.
Can you hear me now? About 11, it looks like.
All right.
Sweet. So I just need to dig through this and see what else we got.
Awesome, man. Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure a bunch more will come in. Probably that's just the first little group of them, but awesome. Thanks, Rob. Great job, man. It is no small task. So awesome to have you on the team, man. I don't know how feasible this really would be without you on the team. So thanks for all your help.
Love to do it.
Cool.
I like to bring ideas to life. Whatever ideas y'all have, come at me, bro.
I know that about you, man. Yep. You're like you're my kind of guy. That's for sure, man. I was just thinking about, what should we talk about tonight? I was thinking about how, sometimes we complain about those guys who are out there, just like Shannon likes to call them chuck in a truck, It's that guy, that random guy who's out there trying to do shower doors and how it may not be that great for the industry at large, for a guy to just be out there, kind of randomly just doing stuff out of the back of his truck, for uninsured, unlicensed, undercutting everybody. But on the other hand, we all did start somewhere, right? And so I was just wondering if y'all wanted to talk a little bit about what is like the vitally important first step to becoming like a legitimate shower door company. Maybe, you're already in the glass business and, just haven't ventured into shower doors. Or maybe, you're a glazer, and you've never been in business for yourself and you're thinking about it. What kind of tips would you give somebody who's considering that, as far as first steps of breaking into the shower door biz?
Hey, I've got one question, not pertaining, we're talking about a closed group. Why do we have anonymous members? They'll post it anonymous.
That might be a setting that I can,
I think it's a feature Facebook's trying to roll out to allow someone to ask a group a question without getting shots fired at them.
yeah.
I think it's still a beta thing they're doing. I don't know if the feature will survive if people abuse it.
Yeah. They ask a question, but it's like to know who you're talking to.
Yeah. Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
It's somebody in the group. Got to be in the group to ask a question, but I guess you can ask a question anonymously. I don't know if that's something that I can just turn off.
No.
I'll find out before next call.
It's just like our local paper here. Our people, they let people write in now, sign an anonymous, they don't have to sign their name to it. So.
Yeah. Anonymous tips.
Yeah.
Cool. So anybody want to tackle this topic, or is this just too fringe, man? Is it just too out there? Too controversial?
Pretty tough to answer that.
It is tough.
Yeah.
Well, I think
being part of the National Glass Association, maybe, I don't know. Having a brick and mortar.
What can you ask
Maybe.
the question one more time?
Yeah, sure.
Please.
So it's the topic is really, if somebody wants to become a shower door installer, they want to get into the business, right? They want to be a legitimate shower door guy. What advice would you give them to get started?
This is someone, I guess it would depend, right? Like, is this someone that's leaving a company and going out on their own?
Yeah, let's say they are. Let's say that's it. It's like someone who's been in the industry for a while and he's like me, like I was in the industry for many, many years. And I was like, I could do, I could do this. Why am I working for somebody? I should just launch out, do this on my own. What would you tell a
So,
guy like me if I was doing that?
I mean, for my personal experience, because that's how I ended up here. I had worked for companies, various companies, full time since 1996 was when I started full time. Was in the union for a little bit, did that whole thing, and always had the thought, the idea of starting my own thing, going out on my own. And I mean, really, it was the uncertainty and the fear was really what kept me from kind of taking the leap. Which is actually part of the name. That's part of where the name comes from, freedom. It's not just patriotic, it's freedom from whatever, right? Everybody's looking for some type of freedom in one way or another, right? Freedom from something. But anyway, so I had left the company I was at, and I hooked up with a buddy, was doing it, part-time with him and then part-time for myself to kind of build up, a lot of evenings and weekend stuff. But and that was one of the things that I didn't want to be. I didn't want to start off as this chuck in a truck kind of guy, right? I didn't want to start off that way. And a lot of people had told me, like, if you start low, as you grow and get bigger, it's going to be harder for you to climb up. So start as high as you can, and kind of, be at that level. So I had actually reached out to a couple local shops to see, what they were getting for, certain jobs. I had no anticipation of being as involved in shower doors as I became. That was not the original plan. It's since evolved into that, and I'm happy that it has. But I mean, like, the first thing I did was I registered an LLC and registered the name. From there, I quickly got a van and got it insured and got tags on it and got a sign on it. So I, could look somewhat legit pulling up to people's houses. Locked in a business phone number, started developing the website, started building a website. I had something basic in the beginning, just somewhere people could go. And then as time went on, I continued to build upon that website more and more. Reviews were good for me in the beginning. It kind of gave me some leverage as more than just, some guy out there installing shower doors, and like those few things, I mean, it just kind of built upon that with continued clientele and continued good work and good reviews. And, then it became time to hire someone and bring them on full time and put them on the books. And, now I got to get workman's comp because, it's all got to be legit. I feel, and it's tough, right? For us here, most of us get it. Like everything I think that's come out of my mouth, like you guys understand it, but the homeowner is a completely different story, and it's hard, right? How do you communicate that to someone that's just, I'm just looking to get a shower door put in. That's all. How do you get past that point? I don't know. But that's my brief history.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I think, I what I got out of that is like the first steps are just like be legitimate. Whatever those first steps are that you take, you talked about like just registering your business, becoming an LLC, getting a truck, making sure it was insured and registered, and, properly licensed or whatever, and it's going to vary, from one location to the next as far as what's required by, your local government or state government or whatever, to be legitimate. But starting out with with that goal, with that mindset, with that value system of like, hey, I'm going to be legit. I'm not going to cut corners. I'm not going to do anything illegal. I'm not, I'm going to check all the boxes, and it's like whatever that takes, as hard as that is, as long as it takes, I'm going to do it that way.
Yeah, and in the beginning, there's a lot of boxes that I feel there's a lot of boxes that needed to be checked that I was just kind of unaware of, I guess, at the time in the beginning, right? I mean, for me, when I was just starting off, I didn't really know much about how to run or operate or work in a business. I knew how to go to a job Monday through Friday and perform the work. I didn't know the ins and outs and behind the scenes stuff. A part of it for me was reaching out to guys that I knew, friends of mine that had businesses, and kind of get a little insight from them. That proved to be extremely helpful for me.
Nice. Get advice from people you respect.
Yeah.
It's important about that. That's like the most profound thing that I've heard on here. It's so important, but so many people I see go and find the person to get advice like Brian, and they tee it up and they get the advice, but they don't take it because that fear factor kicks that. Like, it's one thing, to recognize where someone can help you. It's another thing to make sure you implement that. Because if somebody gives you advice and then they see that you're not taking it and going against it, rest assured they're not going to be helping you anymore. However, if somebody gives you advice that you respect and you take it and they see that you've taken it, you will actually end up getting a lot. I found that out. Doug and I found a mentor when we moved down here, and he gave us advice and he saw us acting on it. And he immediately came in and said, I can't believe you guys are taking my advice. I'm so proud. I want to give you so much more. And that was like one of our biggest things. Like, we had a massive hurdle getting to the next step. And that was one of them, like asking for advice and then listening to it. Because a lot, sometimes you just kind of go through the motions, you get it like, yeah. And then you just hope it's going to get better the next day. But actually taking the advice and listening to it and using it is a big step. I think that's cool. We did the same thing.
Yeah. You ask for someone for advice and it's like, oh man, that's not what I wanted to hear. It's like, that sounds hard, man. I don't want to.
Yeah. Maybe I'll try that next year.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. But yeah, it is hard. It is going to hurt, man. I promise you. But the idea of going out and being like that illegitimate, scabby, whatever, installer who's not insured, not licensed, not, bona fide, not, doing things right, cutting corners. Man, I see a guy like that and I think, oh man, I feel bad for the guy. A lot of guys get mad, that makes people mad because they feel like, they're taking something from me. But I feel like bad for a guy like that because I know how bad it can go. I mean, you mess something up, you hurt somebody, because like you're not doing it right, and then you're not covered, you don't have insurance, you don't have, the backing that you need. Man, it's like you can end up just ruining your life, somebody else's life. It's no joke, and it's like, and I get it that people need to work and people need to earn a living. But man, you've got to do it the right way. If you don't, you're asking for trouble.
Take care of the customer too, because that's what the stereotypical contractor doesn't do, So no matter what and how much it costs you to make something bad correct, make it right. Do whatever you have to do to take care of that customer. If you have to order more glass, yeah, it's going to come out of your pocket. Order more glass, especially when you're new. You may not make as much, making some mistakes along the way, but you'll catch on and you'll make it profitable. So kind of in line with what Brian was saying, you know, you got to check off all the boxes, and that's part of it.
Totally.
I agree with everything that everybody's saying too. And one piece to add, like I don't have experience with the startup kind of thing. I kind of came into a family business that's already started. But we've had a lot of people, not a lot, but people that have gone out and wanted to do it on their own. And just the understanding that, yes, you can probably make more money if you go start up your own thing, but just realize and understand that if it's just you, you can only do so much by yourself and so much output with one person. So if you actually want to get to a different level, you're going to have to learn to utilize people and grow as an organization and trust other people and bring other people on if you really want to grow. But yes, you can initially make more money, but at a certain point, you can only do so much by yourself. So get past all that startup stuff and then be prepared to deal with people afterwards if you want to grow more. Because once you plateau, there's only so much you can do. So then you start needing people.
Yeah.
You know, and then a lot of people don't like to deal with people. So, you know,
Yeah.
at a certain point, you're going to be capped out, and you may be okay with it, but at a certain point, you might have to learn to like people.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about being in business. And I think, you know, we've all heard the story about how, you know, someone may be really good at their craft and just suck at business. You know, it's like you're not gonna survive like that. It doesn't matter how good you are at it. You've got to be good at business too, or you've got to become good at it. And it is a people business. If you don't like and care about people, you know, I think it's going to be very hard to be successful in any kind of a service industry. And I was thinking when Brian was talking about how he was starting out and he worked with some other people. I mean, I think that's a good little tip that kind of just got glanced over really quick. It's like you can find somebody who's small, who's already in the industry when you're just starting to launch and just hook up with them like, hey, you know, I want to start my own business. I see you're doing it. How can I work with you? How can I help you? And just kind of be, you know, kind of partner up, team up, just to kind of learn a little bit more about the business. That might make it a smoother transition going from, you know, just working a job to like having your own business. If you can find someone to work, you know, with, you know, kind of more at a higher level, right? At a more of a like a kind of a contractor or subcontractor level, 1099 or something like that, where you can learn a little bit about management and how sales work and how the inner workings work, you know, and kind of maybe kind of like an apprenticeship sort of a thing, or more like almost like an intern sort of a thing. I think there are opportunities like that available. And it kind of alludes to a little bit too about like what Keith was saying of just like of getting advice, you know, finding somebody who's successful and seeing if you can you know, just you know, pick their brain a little bit, whatever.
Kind of adding on to Daniel's comment about adding people, just kind of recognizing that when you have increased demand and meeting the demand, there's so many people that stay small because they don't have anyone else to answer the phone when it's ringing too much and you're out in the field. So it's hard to do, but if the phone is ringing, you got to keep answering it. And I see a lot of small guys, not just glass, but you know, any industry, just getting really bogged down, and then they stop answering the phone and then it stops ringing and then they're okay. But that's just going to keep you where you're at. So when the phone rings, answer it. That was what we did the whole time we were staffing the office as we were growing. It's like, if the phone is ringing, and you're on the other line, then hire someone to answer it when on the second ring. You got 2 people on the phone and it's ringing, hire a third person. You got 3 people on the phone. I mean, that's just how it works. And now we're trying to figure out, because it seems like we're getting a lot more emails than phone calls. So now I'm kind of starting to go, well, if we have unanswered emails, it's time to hire someone to answer the emails. And I know a lot of people have so much trouble spending money on office staff, on the admin, but that's what's going to keep the business coming to you and going to the field.
You
What
know,
I did before I hired my secretary, because I was really kind of nervous about bringing on another person, I actually used a software, like a company called Conversational, and they kind of make it. You literally forward your phone number to them, and you kind of give them, I don't want to call it a script, but kind of an idea of what you do, and they answer the phone as if they're in your office. And they did and then what they'll do is they'll kind of draft. They'll take the information that you're looking for and they'll draft an email and send it to you. They charge by the minute or whatever it is. And then you can kind of get back to those people when you have a minute. Because like when you're by yourself, it's just stopping what you're doing every 10 minutes to answer the phone. It's brutal. But that conversational software was my kind of leapfrog into getting my secretary, who's been now I couldn't do it without it. But that was kind of my transition, and it worked out really well.
you know, we're a small shop and I don't have office help, but we do have somebody that answers our phone all the time and takes the messages and relays them to my brother. And it works just great. I mean,
Yeah, that's another thing, like an early decision that you have to make is when it's time to hire someone. It's like, I can hire one person. So what person am I going to hire? You know, is it going to be office staff? Is it going to be an installer? And that's an important decision. I mean, if you make the wrong one at the wrong time, it may hurt you more than it helps you. And it may be different for every shop, every situation. You know, I mean, you're the one who has to make that call.
but over here, you will ask, people will say, well, you answered your phone. A lot of these shops over here, they don't.
Yeah.
They can't get through to them, you know?
Hey, I can't tell you how many times I hear that. It's like, thanks for answering your phone. Thanks for calling us back.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, really? That's all it takes? Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. Well, the phone's answered 8 to 5, you know?
Right?
Yeah, you have to answer the phone. I'll never forget. We were kind of trying to figure out what the next step was, and I was actually sitting in a meeting with Bill and Keith, and one of the questions I asked Bill was, after kind of explaining everything that my business is currently doing right now, if you were me and you were going home and you had to make and focus on one thing, what would it be? And he's like, sales. It's always sales. Sales drives the train. It gets you the money to be able to do everything else that you want to do. So if you don't answer the phone, you know, you got to answer the phone to get the sale. So I mean, I'll never forget. I'll never forget the stuff he taught me. Both of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, you can get to where if you've got too many sales, I mean, your lead times get longer, right? So it takes, you know, you're like 2 weeks out, you're 3 weeks out, you know, you're 4 weeks out. But if people are willing to wait 3 or 4 weeks, you're in a good situation, you know, if you're making sales. But if you're standing around and you don't have anything to do, that's a bad situation. So yeah, definitely, you know, answer the phone. If you can't, have somebody else do it, you know, or get a service, get an app. There's a lot of ways to approach that, but yeah, you gotta make those sales. And you know, here in beautiful California, there's a lot of regulations, man. There's a lot. Oh my gosh, man. Am I lying? Am I lying?
No.
You've got to do, you know, and you know, getting licensed is one of the, you know, first things. You know, just get a contractor's license, C-17 here in California. But when I have a buddy who's a general contractor. I went to him for advice. You know, he said, sign up for the school there's a school that teaches you how to take the test. It costs a few $100, whatever. It's worth it. Do it, man. Go to the school. So I took his advice, went to the school. It was brilliant, man. It was the smartest thing to do. And I just like, I aced the test, the very first time. I like missed one question or something, because they teach you, what they're going to ask you on the test, and how to answer the questions. But one of the things I learned in contractor school was that if you're getting every job that you bid, you're bidding
something,
right? You're too low. You should be losing some of the jobs you bid. And it took me a while. I mean, when I heard it, it made sense to me. I was like, oh yeah, of course, that's right. But in practice, that was hard. It was hard to raise prices because I liked getting every job, but there's no future now. I mean, you really can't earn enough to survive, if you're getting every job because you're bidding too low.
In California, they would review the contractor's license every couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother would go up there to the licensing board, and they put him up for 3 or 4 days. And a group of contractors from California, and they would go over the test, and make recommendations or whatever to improve it.
That's cool. I was invited to do that one year, and that's like I passed.
Yeah.
Do you need a contractor's license to install showers and stuff in California?
Yeah.
You need a contractor's license to do more than $500.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in Massachusetts, for all things said about Massachusetts, we love taxes and we love all kinds of stuff. But for whatever reason, shower doors and glass, we fly under the radar for one reason or another. As long as you're not changing out full fenestration, windows or doors or something like that. You can do window repairs, shower doors, railing. I mean, once you start getting into the bigger commercial stuff, the rules change a bit. But residential, it's like a free for all out there.
Yeah, and it makes sense really. If you're not doing something structural to a building, it's like, I can see them just not.
And then every city you work in, you have to have a business license too.
Oh yeah.
Because they want their share of the taxes.
Oh yeah, everybody wants their cut.
How does the sales tax work? Because I know some places like New York City, sometimes they tack on not New York City, but New York State, they'll tack on a county tax, a city tax, a whatever tax. How does it work in California?
Well,
yeah, we got all that.
Monterey County is 7.25%.
So that goes to the county, and then is there a
and
state?
then the cities are 9%.
So there's an array of taxes that get tacked on to each invoice.
There is,
depending on where you are.
There is, it just kind of adds up. There's the state of California, they get their little sliver. What is it, 3.5 or something? And then the county you're in will have its little sliver, and then the city will have their part, and it adds up to around 9, somewhere between 9 and 10%, in our area.
So you need to track all that for which place you collected how much tax for, and then send that, and then
you have to
spend an afternoon writing checks to 10 different places. Sounds like fun.
Here it all goes to the same place. It goes to the state of California. But you need to
send it to the county. You don't. Oh, okay.
But if you have a business license in the city, you have to tell them how much taxes you collected for that city, how much for this city, and how much for this city. So they get their fair share of it.
Full-time job.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say fair share. I would just say share.
A share.
Yeah. Pound of flesh.
Fair. What is
Along With the conversation about taxes, that's another thing that I would say is, you know, you gotta pay it. You gotta, I mean, so many people try and show no profit, try and take the cash, try and hide it all. And then you go in and you do want to get that brick and mortar. You do want to go to the next level, and people won't give you a loan. They won't let you in to rent a place because you've never shown any profit.
Yeah, you don't have any records.
Yeah. So it's all gonna work against you. If you want to stay under the radar like that, you better plan on staying under the radar for life. You're just digging yourself a hole. Not worth it.
Hiring an
That was your
accountant
exit
too.
strategy also. It's like if your exit strategy is to sell and you show a seller, hey, I made I made all this money, but I stole it. It's not, your business isn't really worth anything. So it kind of kills you. You think it's okay because you're going home with a pocket full of cash every day, but in the long run, it kind of kills you.
Short bag.
I had a brother that always wanted to be paid by cash. So he gets, Social Security age, he doesn't have 10 quarters to get any money. He just screwed himself,
I think hiring an accountant too is a pretty big kind of first step or early on step. That's one thing I wish I had done sooner than I did.
Yeah, especially for the tax part of it, it's like,
Yeah.
How do you guys keep track of all those taxes for like the city? I mean, do you have county and city and state, everything?
Yeah, QuickBooks, you just put it all into QuickBooks, and it's it's an item, right? Right, Shannon? Sales tax items. So it's like whatever city, county, whatever you're in, you plug it into that and it tracks it, and then QuickBooks tells you how much you owe. In fact, I need to pay.
Yeah, every month my brother has to do
That
sales
time.
tax, and he has to go through and list it city by city.
Yeah.
It's not as complicated as it sounds, having to pay everybody. We don't have any tax in Oregon, but we do business in Washington. It's the same thing. But you have to put in each address. And when you put in the address, then, or you could get software to do it, then it breaks it out and says, here's everybody that you have to pay, but you're still paying it on one form. So you put in the addresses, break it all out, do the calculation and send it over. So it's not terrible.
I do it online. I've been doing it online for years, and just going, they've got a website and you just plug in the numbers, and it's pretty easy,
Yeah.
But
yeah, I've never met a successful glass shop owner, and I asked them what's their secret, and they said, taking a lot of cash under the table,
Yeah.
that ain't the formula.
Yeah.
That ain't the formula, because if that's your goal, your focus is on the wrong thing. You guys were talking about scaling your businesses and getting it bigger. I mean, I don't think there's any better way than whatever size you are and whatever size you want to be, go find somebody that size. If you don't have your own separate crew, it's just you, go find somebody in this group that has a crew, a single crew, and say, how did you get from just you to one crew? You don't have to go from one guy to the Dobmans. I hate to keep bringing them up as
it's hard not to.
Sorry, Keith is a stellar example, but I think sometimes that can look daunting, but go find somebody who does it successfully, that where you want to be. And like Keith said, listen, these people will give you, Keith doesn't tell you, but I've pestered him probably 20 times in the last 6 months. Why? Because I'm trying to get 3 locations. Why am I talking to him? Because he has more than 3 locations.
Yeah.
So, and guess what? He's been generous with his time, and I'm listening, and we are putting a plan in place. So if you're trying to get bigger, cash under the table ain't it.
Yeah.
The shower door group is great on the Facebook page, but get off the Facebook page and get out there and start knocking on some damn doors. Go talk to somebody who does it and take their advice and follow it. If you really want to get there, whatever level it is, find somebody doing it and take notes.
Talk to them in person, right? Find out what
everybody,
find out what they
is there-
smell like.
is there anybody in this group that wouldn't give a helping hand to somebody who was trying to get better at something?
I can't see anybody that I think would be like that in this group.
Maybe Shannon, you know. it's a couple.
She's pretty tough. Yeah. Yeah. Stellar advice.
Everybody's at different levels. Go find somebody at the level you want to be at. Is it cash? Is it people? Is it systems? You know, how do you get there? Million things to do, but the people that are at that next level above you, if that's where you're trying to get.
And there's a lot of people in this group who have done just that. I mean, I hear stories about it all the time, and it warms my heart. You know, like just people meeting and getting together, and just like Greg's talking about. Greg's one of those people who's, you know, done a lot of this networking, and the Dobmans, and you know, a lot of people. I hear from, oh yeah, I got together with, so I visited, you know, and went and saw their shop, and their plant, or whatever. It's like, it's awesome. I love that.
Everybody in this group is willing to share. Everybody has some kind of expertise or help. I've been
How
to the
come no
Dobbins.
one comes to see me in Oregon? I keep asking. We're not that far.
I want to
I'd
go
like
to
to come
Oregon
see.
so bad.
Pacific
all the-
Northwest.
All the hippies moved up there. That's why they escaped California and they went up there.
That is true.
Not way.
I'm gonna go there. I have a job coming in Montana again. When I'm there, I want to go up to Oregon. I've never been to Oregon. I'd love to go there.
That'd be awesome. I'd love to host you.
Yeah, we
You're
have
not
to.
that far from us, are you? How
Where
far
are you at
from
in
here?
Oregon?
Portland area, but don't let that stop you. We're kind of
Oh.
outside of Portland.
Is my car gonna get burnt up? And
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I see it in the news.
Spray paint?
I'll keep you out of the wrong places. Well, it's going to sound a little bit like a downer, but Greg and I were actually just talking recently about that first step where you're needing to hire like another crew. So you got a single guy and he's doing good and, you know, doing all the right things and business is coming along. But that very first step where you have to hire other people so that you can do the sales and other people are doing it. Well, now all at once you have to find the people, train the people, watch the people, help the people, while at the same time you're answering the phones and you're doing the sales and you're bringing in the work that will keep the people busy. It is hard.
It is hard, especially from zero to one crew. I think is harder. I don't know. I was thinking to have multiple crews. We're 5 crews right now. 4 to 5 crews was not hard, and I'm not saying it in an arrogant way, but 0 to 1 crew was way harder than 4 to 5. Way harder.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. It's me and 2 other guys, and that's the 2 guys to be out there installing so I can stay on the sales and keep the work coming in. And it's tough. It's tough. I mean, I'm doing it, but
crossing. I feel like I'm just crossing that threshold into the first crew. And it's been a year since I was standing with Keith and he literally saw firsthand like a shit show go down at my shop, like with this one crew. Like they broke, you know, my brother and I were down there, they broke a piece of glass in a person's house. And it's like, I'm never gonna get there. I'm never gonna get there. But I don't know. It was a struggle. And a year later, they're doing phenomenal. And it's literally, like Keith said, it's a lot of listening. It's a lot of learning. It's a lot of how to talk to them and be patient. And I don't know. It's definitely a grind. And I wouldn't even say I'm 100% there yet, but it's definitely been a grind, but it's definitely worth it also.
Yeah, we're at that hump with I've got 2 crews now, which that was a challenge, but it was, you know, a lot of extra guys on one job than necessary for sure, because you're doing the training and stuff like that. But the sales part is kind of where we're struggling, and not necessarily struggling for in general, but just struggling to find somebody or to take that leap of faith to get somebody out there to do, to take pride, like everybody around here that's done the sales, it's your business. You take pride in that, and you take the extra, steps to make sure everything's right and everybody's taken care of and all that stuff. And, I've tried to send a couple of my guys out as, if they're in the area, like, hey, stop by this house. And it's hard, because sometimes they don't catch everything. And then I'm like making the second trip, and it's just tough.
Mhm.
I was wondering, has anybody ever, like on the sales rep aspect of it, trying to pass off just house accounts because to free up your personal, not your say your personal time, but to free up yourself to work on the business, but passing off the sales that so you can do other stuff in the business instead of being the salesperson when you're the business owner. Like, how does that work? Because it's just me and my dad, and we're doing the sales. We had a sales rep, but like to get rid of the stuff on our plate as far as sales go, and not completely, but just like the house account stuff, like stuff that is just easy, and you could possibly, like getting rid of that to free up time would be
What's the
nice.
question?
Like just getting a sales rep. Has anybody used like a more or less like an experienced installer that doesn't really care for sales or something like that, but just put them into the role of doing sales for builders where they're just going out and measuring the stuff and they don't really have to deal with anything. They're just servicing an account, like an account service person that isn't sales based. They're just
That's exactly what we do. It's exactly
Like
what we
basically like what, they're just going out to like an open job site, not really meeting anybody. They're just like, hey, go there and measure, these 4 showers or whatever.
Yeah, well, maybe that, yes, but it is, it would be nice to be able to ultimately turn the builder over to them and let the builder directly contact them and have them manage the account, but it's a house account, something that, you're just passing off to them to free
is
up
that?
your time.
What does house account mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I say house account, so a house account is something that we just have in, like, between me and my dad, it's just accounts that we service, and we don't take sales or anything off of it or commissions, but it's just stuff that we service as a company, but they're builders that have been with us since we opened, and things like that. But we would need somebody that we trust that can service it appropriately. But do we consider them a sales
Oh.
rep, or do we just
none of
consider them like,
none of my guys have their own accounts. I have builders, but one day I'll send Joe to go measure. Then the next week it'll be Bill going to measure, and then it's Tom going to measure. There are no individual accounts in our company. There is no sales accounts. There is none of that. So we provide all the leads, we provide all the appointments, and then these guys are field techs. So they go out, they measure, they meet with the clients. I think you've got this sales thing in your mind. A salesperson is the one who's out there going and beating the bushes, picking up leads, and that's fine if that's the model you want to have. Some people have it. We don't. We provide all the leads. We provide the scheduling. Your job is to go out, measure, be polite, explain all the different options, etc. But I don't have any guys with, maybe it's a phobia, but I don't like having guys with their own accounts, because then when they go off on their own, they take their accounts, because the builder has such a relationship that's real strong with the individual. They need to have they need to have the relationship with the business, not with the individual.
yeah.
I was
So-
thinking that same thing.
Does anybody have like a setup to where they do have, you bring in a sales rep that has experience with another glass company and they're bringing in their own accounts? I mean, a lot of builders will like to stick with them, how do you, so you don't really work off anything like that, or does anybody?
We don't know.
So
I love
how-
it when you get a review that says Clinton Glass. If my name's in a review, I consider that a failure.
Okay.
Hey, Daniel, I think to help you a little bit, this is what I would recommend. Get somebody that has great personality, that learns the way that you want them to learn, and then have him stick with you for about a month. give him 100% of your knowledge. Make sure that they understand that this person is going to grow within your business, and teach him everything that you can. And then just send them out with whichever customers they make mistakes, but you have to make sure that you coach them, and little by little they're gonna learn, and then you're gonna be able to give them all of the leads that you can, and that's gonna help you grow a lot. But you gotta do it, otherwise they're gonna stay the same, and then you're gonna turn 50, 60, and then you're gonna be the same if you don't delegate.
Yeah, we have people that are knowledgeable and they could do it, but they're not very people friendly. So it's a matter of finding one that meshes well with people. And then we also will trust that they'll stick with the company and not try to take the sales to another glass shop or something like that, essentially. You know, but I mean, most of the people we would trust that they would stick with us regardless, as far as the builders go, but you never know.
Yeah, I kind of agree with like Greg's approach as far as it taking more of a technical approach versus like a sales approach. Like, because I kind of see it more as like a consultation versus like a sales call kind of thing. Like when I go to we meet with the client, I feel that that part, like that type of personality sells a little bit better for us, is more of like informative. But I mean, that doesn't really go along with, like, you know, if you've got a contractor that you're doing constant business, like, you know, 95% of their business anyways, or you're not meeting with them. But I see that, but kind of like what Greg was saying, I like the tech, you know, title, I guess.
So how would you guys treat the boots on the ground approach? Because I mean, that's some of my funnest times is when I would hope to have a sales rep that enjoys the simple aspect of walking onto a job site and meeting a builder and getting the business. Like, that is a traditional sales rep, in my opinion. Like, you're going out and bringing in more business by knocking on doors as you're driving around. You know, maybe you block in some time from appointment to appointment, and you're just, hey, you saw a new construction, you're going to stop by, you see the builder's truck more than likely, and you pass by, you say, hey, and you get new business. That seems like traditional sales rep. And where does that fall into that kind of system, or is it outside of the system that you're talking about?
I think like what Greg was saying makes a lot of sense. And as I'm listening to you talk, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking any employee you have really needs to work with people. Like, your installers, they've got to be good with people. If they're not, you need to get better installers, because I mean, they've got to be able to go out, they've got to be able to do the job. They've got to work with people. They've got to be friendly. They've got to be polite. They've got to be, they got to win them over. They've got to be able to upsell. If something's wrong, they're going to have to be able to lay out that opening. If the glass doesn't work for some reason, they need to be able to put a level or a laser or whatever on that opening and say, this is why. Not just that, you just want them calling you saying, hey, this won't work, and have you go out and figure out why it didn't work. They need to be able to figure out why. They need to be able to do it and say, oh man, the outage was sloping the wrong direction. That's what happened. That's why this glass won't work. You just need to make this like 3/8 out the other way, and it's going to fit, right? So a guy like that who can lay out an opening, who can work with people, who's friendly, who likes their job, any one of them can be your quote unquote sales rep. So like what Greg's talking about, I mean, he send his guys out, right? Sends out a guy to measure, especially if you're talking about like a builder, you're doing multiple jobs for them. It's just like, hey, there's this job over at this address, it needs to be measured for this. You should be able to send your guy, your installers out there to measure that and lay it out. And if they have to interact with someone, they should be able to be polite and presentable, and should be able to pull that off. I mean, does that sound like,
Yeah, but
that makes
the question
sense?
is, what business model do you want? Some people have a sales business sales model where they send a guy out and they track how many appointments did you make? How many calls, cold calls did you make? How many leads did you get? How much stuff did you quote? How much did you sell? That's a business model that works for some people. And I'm not saying it's terrible. Don't do it. All I'm saying, that's not the model I use. And my techs don't have that burden. So it's not that I'm taking away accounts or I'm taking away the trouble. I'm taking away also the burden of being a salesperson. And I was a sales manager with 20 salespeople at one point. It is a very hard job to be a successful salesperson. So from my background, that's my job. Enough advertising, enough schmoozing, generate the leads, and then have the field techs handle the personal part, the in-person part. But we don't have sales meetings with what's your closing percentage, how many cold calls did you make this week? If you want to do that, go ahead and do it. But I haven't found that. For me, it hasn't been successful. I know others, I think, do that model. We don't.
Keith, I'm really curious what your model is.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
Jump him.
I want to, I'll share it, but I do want to make a comment to Danielle. My first thing would be, it sounds like you want to find a person that can replace you. And then the next thing I would be asking you is, are you prepared to pay that person the same amount of money that you're making? And I'm sure the answer is no, not yet, which means you have to set reasonable expectations, especially for that position. But I like, we kind of, our model is different for each store. And we know we want these stores to grow, and we don't want turnover with our salespeople, because the problem that Doug, Bill, and I have created is the business is so stretched out that we can't touch every customer if I wanted to. I couldn't if I wanted to. And so now we figured we had to devise a system that would prevent turnover, because that's one thing Doug and I learned probably about 13 years into it when we started manufacturing, almost ruined the business, was the turnover. We weren't putting nearly enough time into the training and personal development, showing what our mission is as the company, and creating better culture. And so in each one of the stores, there's not house accounts, meaning we have territorial areas, like Naples has a fall line before Fort Myers. And so if the customer falls within that area, we have bonuses set up for each store monthly, and it's a team effort. And the teams almost police themselves. If there's a person that's not pulling their weight on there, knock on wood, we're not in any like civil wars within the stores right now. Everybody's getting along just great. But it's hard to find the right group of people to work together, because, they're working 8 hours together. It's a competitive environment. They're wanting to make numbers. You got some people that are money driven. There's other people that are title driven. And yet they're 25 now. When he turns 30, they have different wants and needs. They want more family time. So you have to be able to be nimble as far as, I guess, what their responsibilities are. But the structure we've created around sales is all based off of gross profit margin. And it was the only way that we could figure that we could help continue to grow at scale while still kind of having that carrot dangling. And even myself, I have the CFO and a couple other people within our company set numbers for myself, because I know I'm goal driven. And if I don't have something to chase, I get complacent and I feel like I'm just getting by. So I don't know if I'm really answering your question, other than the fact that there is no house accounts. They're my shower door accounts, just kind of like the NFL. Everything we do is to protect the brand first. Take care of the company brand first. And if a customer's willing to leave because Joe Schmo left, then he didn't really like the brand. And shame on us for not either doing a good enough job for him to stay loyal to us, or maybe it was a good thing. Sometimes it's good to lose a customer or two, a purging of customers that go to war with you on price all the time and haggle you for lead time. We all have one or two of those where we're like, fuck, I wish I had two other ones so I could just get rid of this one. But having reasonable expectations and a defined scope of work for those people is probably the biggest takeaway I would take out of this conversation that I've learned. Because I used to say all the time, why can't they do it? Why can't we find someone like us? It's like, it took me forever to realize, well, they don't own the fucking company. So like, why am I expecting them to do that? They're just not going to make that extra call. They're not going to stop at that extra construction trailer on the way back. Why? Because it's not theirs. Unless leadership has created an environment for these people to thrive and they've really embraced that culture and want to show that off and really truly believe in the mission of the company. And then, and only then, are they willing to go above and beyond what their normal, like, that's not my job duties are. And we've had countless examples of where that's actually benefited us way more than the way we used to operate, where we had so-called house accounts that Doug and I and Bill brought in the beginning. There's a big high rise, and that number is not part of the bonus structure, but yet they're actually having to facilitate the work in the field. We had to let go of all that. And when we did, the retention rate stayed, and the numbers actually started going up considerably. And the other thing about the benefit about having a salesperson instead of you, if you're not a seasoned, let's say what it is, negotiator, you find that you don't end up discounting as much as you probably do as an owner. You get put in a situation, you need some more jobs to come in, 100 here, 100 there, over the course of 30, 40 jobs a month, that adds up. And you just really don't have that nearly as much, we found, if you create the right sales environment, again, for us, based on gross profit margin. Yeah.
Keith, are you saying the owners are more prone to give discounts than the salespeople? Or the other way around?
Depending on their level of sales expertise.
I got you.
Like, if my brother was on this call, he'd kill me, but I believe we're at a point now where if we both went out to a job and he knew that he was kind of on the hook of losing it, he might be willing to fucking scratch the pen a little bit just to say he closed the deal. Where I'm going to try something a little bit different. And the employees won't do that. They're more likely to just let it go away and go through the follow-up process and let the chips fall instead of lowering the cost and resetting the market. Yeah.
Interesting. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thanks, Keith. Thanks everybody for showing up. That was a great call.
Yeah.
Have an
Awesome.
excellent week. I'll see you next Wednesday.
Hey guys.
Bye.
Thank you guys. See ya.
See
Good
ya.
night, everybody.
Good night.